From brilliant fall color in the Georgia mountains to the bloom of spring wildflowers, Georgia experiences a full range of seasonal changes throughout the year. We'll explore what this means for our native wildlife, plus look at some ways to make the most of our 4 seasons next on Georgia Outdoors.
Funding for Georgia Outdoors has been made possible by a grant from Mary Hall Singleton and by the Imlay Foundation.
As our planet makes its annual trip around the sun, the temperature shifts around the world. Geographically, Georgia is positioned to experience each of the 4 seasons in significant ways. Through spring, summer, fall, and winter, the ebb and flow of the seasonal life cycle is dramatic. With changing colors, new blooms, the coming and going of insects, migrating birds, hibernating mammals, and changes in weather. In the animal kingdom, springtime is perhaps the most important season and the most active. From the bellowing alligators in our swamps to the nighttime frog calls, to the chirp of songbirds, spring is a noisy and active time for our native animal species.
The springtime is when things really start happening in the natural world. It's a time when life is being renewed. We often hear the birds singing and think of that as a sign of spring. And of course, what the birds are doing is getting ready for nesting season. The males are advertising their availability, and they're trying to prove they're good providers to attract the females and hopefully reproduce. Birds such as ospreys, which are not here very much during the wintertime, springtime they show back up and get ready to nest.
Though bird watching is a pastime that can be enjoyed year-round in Georgia, things get really exciting in the spring.
An indigo bunting?
In addition to our mating natives, it's also prime migration time. In the springtime, you can see a variety of neotropical migrants. Over 90 species of these far-traveled birds depend on Georgia's diverse habitats as an important stop during their long migrations between North, Central, and South America. Another important avian visitor in Georgia is the endangered swallowtail kite.
Swallowtail kites are one of the highly migratory birds that nests in the state of Georgia. They typically arrive here the very first part of March and begin nesting, building their nest by late March, and are sitting on eggs in the first part of April. Swallowtail kites have a very small population. The number of nesting pairs is somewhere probably around 1,500 or 1,600 birds in the entire southeast. And if you add in the birds that don't breed, the young of the year, and the birds that aren't breeding until they're 3 or 4 years old, the whole population is only about 3,500 birds. And when you add to that the fact that they used to have a much larger range, they used to nest in 22 states, all the way up the Mississippi Valley, all across the South, and now they're only found in the heart of the South, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, across the other southeastern states over to Texas.
Spring is also a great time for viewing shorebirds.
The fantastic thing that happens in the spring here is the transformation of these gray, drab, brown shorebirds that we've seen all winter long into these really spectacular, brightly colored birds that are getting ready for their breeding and nesting season. Many people that learn their shorebird ID, they learn how to recognize shorebirds in the winter here, suddenly are taken back. The colors and the brightness and the behavior of the birds changes too, pretty dramatically.
Color emerges in the spring, not only in the animal world, but in the plant world as well. There is some truth to the phrase, April showers bring May flowers. In the spring, the clash of warm and cool air often creates turbulent weather, which does help to nourish an abundance of plant life in Georgia. In the southeast, spring is often associated with the azalea. And while the exotic Asian azalea, because of its hardiness and ease of cultivation, is most commonly seen bordering our lawns, Georgia is home to a number of native azalea species, which can be found growing wild across the state.
The deciduous native azaleas are a much more open architectural plant. That is, their branching structure is much more open and in some cases widespreading. They can go up to 15 to 20 feet tall. The biggest differences, though, are in fragrance. There are no real good fragrances in the exotic hybrids, and yet in our species azaleas like this one, the Piedmont Rhododendron canescens, the fragrance is quite overwhelming. The early spring air is filled with the fragrance of some of our early bloomers. This Piedmont that you see here, as well as the Florida, the orange and yellows.
The native azalea is so closely tied to our state, it's been named our state wildflower. Of course, it's not the only wildflower in Georgia. From beautiful orchid species like the lady slipper to less celebrated varieties, Georgia's wildflowers are diverse and widespread. We tagged along with naturalists Larry and Deborah Davis on a wildflower hike in Smithgall Woods, one of Georgia's conservation parks.
We've been conducting wildflower programs here at Smithgall Woods for a number of years, close to 10 years with the wildflower programs. And basically, these were started to help educate people that were visiting Smithgall about the native flowers and plants and things that were not just here at Smithgall Woods, but also in the surrounding North Georgia area. Here to the side, we've got both foam flower and toothwort that are in bloom. We've had a lot of fun with it, and it gives us a good excuse for being out in the woods. We've always liked the outdoors. We have spent time studying wildflowers. One discovery would lead to another, and basically, you might say wildflowers grew on us.
I think just the natural beauty of them and just photographing them, I always tell folks each one has its own personality, and then I try to capture through my photographs the unique personality of each of the flowers so that other folks will grow to appreciate the same things that we have grown to appreciate over the years.
Deborah is an accomplished photographer and specializes in wildflowers.
If everybody can just crowd around just a little bit here, we hope we'll show you the leaves and hopefully we'll find some still in bloom.
She's learned that on hikes like this one in early spring, many of the wildflowers you encounter have yet to bloom. So you must pay close attention to your surroundings.
But you can see that this is just a beautiful trillium here.
Well, if you're running through the woods and not taking time to slow down, then you're going to miss a whole lot of things. When you do slow down, your eyes are opened up, your stress immediately goes down, and you just enjoy your surroundings and enjoy what's here.
Okay, this is one of the lady slipper orchids, also known as moccasin flower. It's said to resemble dancing shoes for ballerinas. This is, a protected species here in Georgia. One of the things that I enjoy the very most about the wildflower hikes is, like today, when we take somebody to show them a flower that they may have heard about or read about but have never seen in the wild. And this is their first experience, their first time with a particular wildflower. And right along with that, the children. We get some of the small ones involved with some of these hikes when they start finding things. And we'll tell them what something is and maybe later ask them if they remember when we point it out again. And the kids can come back and just pop the answers quickly. When they start getting enthusiastic, that way we know that we have planted literally a seed. Who knows how it's going to flower? We know that that makes a difference.
We're celebrating our 10th year with Smithgall Woods, so between the two of us, we've got right now about 10,000 hours plus.
It never seemed like work.
Never seems like work. We get in our truck and it heads north, heads to Smithgall Woods. Blooming trilliums.
Right there.
Right there, some.
In addition to our wildflowers, many species of trees also put on a show in the spring.
All of our deciduous trees actually produce flowers. The common trees are wind pollinated. That would include the oaks and the maples. And they don't produce very showy flowers, but they contribute a lot to the pollen that we have in the air in the spring. Our trees and shrubs that produce showy flowers, like the dogwood or the magnolias, those are insect pollinated, and they produce flowers and produce scents that attract certain classes of pollinators.
If spring is the season for renewed activity in the natural world, summer is the season that we humans are most active in the great outdoors. Whether it's lounging on the beach, fly fishing in one of our many trout streams, or hiking in the cool North Georgia mountains, you'll find an abundance of humans taking advantage of the summer heat. Temperatures in the heat of July and August often reach into the 90s and can top 100 degrees. So naturally, we gravitate toward the water during the summer, whether it's on the coast, in a creek, or out on the lake. All of Georgia's lakes are actually reservoirs created by dams for electricity, flood control, and recreation.
Bobby Brown State Park is on Strom-Thurmond Lake, which is the largest man-made lake east of the Mississippi River. In the summertime out here, there's a lot of boating, fishing, hiking, bike riding. This lake is very popular to the fishermen.
Yurt camping is a unique way to experience Bobby Brown State Park.
A yurt is a unique camping structure. It's a canvas structure. It's a round structure. It's 20 feet in diameter. Inside we have some white cedar log furniture. All of them are situated as close to the lake, and all of them have a beautiful view.
We camp a lot, and we love Georgia state parks. I think they are very well equipped.
It's just different than the normal tenting thing. It's an experience for them, everything for a child that is different than the usual.
From the lakes to the coast, summer is also a great time for fishing. If you're looking to get out of the heat, try trout fishing in the cool North Georgia mountains.
We have 3 species of trout in Georgia. First one is the brook trout, and that's the only true native to Georgia. The second species we have is the brown trout, and they're actually an import from Europe over 100 years ago. The last species we have and the most abundant in Georgia is the rainbow trout, and they're a transplant from the Pacific West Coast about 100 years ago.
It's a surprise to a lot of people that move to this area from other parts of the country that have trout fishing that we have such a good, diverse quality of trout fishing in Georgia. There's almost 4,000 miles of designated trout stream in this state. That's an unbelievable number for a southeastern state. And of course, we have the southernmost trout stream in the United States, which is the Chattahoochee River through Atlanta. But there are Forest Service maps that show all the Forest Service roads and streams. The Department of Natural Resources of Georgia has a Trout Streams of Georgia map.
As most of us have experienced, summertime is also prime time for arthropods. During the hottest months of the year, Georgia is literally buzzing with activity in the insect world.
A lot of times in the summer, so we do hear a loud buzzing up in the trees, and those are the cicadas, and they're very common here in Georgia. And a lot of children are familiar with them by finding little exoskeletons, little molts stuck to the sides of trees.
Though summer is also the season when gnats, flies, mosquitoes, and ants flourish, not all summertime insects are annoyances. Butterflies also do well in the summer sun. Renowned butterfly gardener Julie Neal knows her butterflies and was instrumental in naming the tiger swallowtail as our state butterfly.
The reason I like to have butterflies around so much is if you can look out across the garden in the middle of the summer, the place is just alive. It's just dancing out there everywhere. You get so much satisfaction out of being able to garden for something that you get so much enjoyment out of.
Butterflies, I think, are some of the most overlooked of our wildlife species. They're very charismatic and they're very colorful and easy to see, but we don't really think about their importance to the whole scheme of things. One thing that I think we're looking at more and more as time goes on is that they are great indicator species of the health of the environment. They have very specific needs, whether it comes to nectar plants or larval plants, and if they're missing, they're not going to be there. And so I think the biologists are looking to them more and more as a thing that we really need to look at when we're looking at the overall health of an environment.
The North American Butterfly Association's mission is to increase public enjoyment and conservation of butterflies. NABA Butterfly Counts is an ongoing program of NABA to census the butterflies of North America and to publish the results. Volunteer participants select a count area with a 15-mile diameter and conduct a one-day census of all butterflies sighted within that circle. The counts are usually held around the 4th of July. Write to this address or visit this website if you're interested in participating in a day of butterfly counting.
As the weather cools, many birds migrate to warmer climates, and summer blossoms disappear. But another type of color emerges in the cooling Georgia autumn. Across Georgia, many of our native deciduous trees put on quite a show before losing their leaves for the winter.
The North Georgia mountains are sort of the most popular area for viewing color and where we get some of the best development. But because Georgia has such a diverse array of tree species, both in the overstory and understory, you can find some degree of color development in almost any hardwood forest within the state.
But why do leaves change their color?
There are two main classes of pigments in trees that cause the fall colors that we see. The first class of pigments are called carotenes. They're responsible for yellows, oranges, some reddish colors. Another class of pigments is called anthocyanins. They're responsible for the reds and the purples. During the growing season, the leaves are green because the leaves are producing chlorophyll, which gives the leaves their green color. In the fall, the trees stop producing chlorophyll. The carotenes, the yellows and the oranges, have been present since the time the leaf was formed. Those emerge when the chlorophyll is no longer being made. The anthocyanins are produced late in the year, in the autumn, and so those colors, the reds and the purples, are actually produced after the chlorophyll is no longer being produced.
Fall color varies greatly from year to year, depending on a variety of weather conditions.
Basically, we want good growing conditions during the summer, which means principally having adequate amounts of water. Things that will shorten the color season or diminish the intensity or vibrancy of the colors include severe droughts that occur during the summer or in late summer. It can also include early frost that will cause the leaves to be shed before you have the colors develop. To get the best color development, we want somewhat dry conditions in late summer and early fall, and then days that are sunny and nights that are cool.
Tallulah Gorge, located in the northeast corner of the state, is a popular area in the fall. Light oranges and reds of native oaks and maples dot the steep granite rim of the gorge.
We have 10 overlooks on the north and south rim of Tallulah Gorge State Park, and as far as viewing-wise, these are the best. By looking off of these, you can see the 5 waterfalls, different areas of them, and different aspects of them. Now, people want to go down to the bottom. We have a staircase system of 600 steps to the bottom, where actually people can walk to the base of Hurricane waterfalls and look at it. And you blend that with the fall colors, or any time of year, it's really something to see.
Waterfalls and fall color make fantastic scenery. Just ask the visitors here at Amicalola Falls State Park.
The best time to see fall color typically is late October to early to mid-November. Look on Georgia State Parks, we have Leaf Watch, where you can go on the Georgia State Parks website, and state parks actually have weekly updates during the fall as to what the status of their color change is.
In the far northwest corner of the state, Georgia's geology has created another great opportunity to view the changing of leaves, Cloudland Canyon. The canyon cuts through Lookout Mountain, formed by the flowing waters of Sitten Gulch Creek.
The species that you're going to see in the early part of the month are going to be things like sumac and poplar trees, which turn early, and then as the month of October progresses on into the November, the bulks of your oaks start changing, like your red oak and your white oak, and that's what makes for the rich colors like the reds and yellows that change throughout the forest. The southern mountain states, to me, have always had the most beautiful leaf change, and I've seen autumn all over the East Coast, and I think it's just as beautiful in Georgia as it is anywhere else.
Falling leaves in Georgia also mark the coming of hunting season. Deer and dove are two of our most popular game species, and in the cooling months of autumn, hunter orange and camouflage are commonly seen on our public and private hunting lands. November usually marks the beginning of hunting season for one of our most popular game birds, bobwhite quail.
Well, in the fall and winter, bobwhite quail are covied up into groups, and that's the time of year that we have the quail season. Hunting has in no way detrimentally impacted bobwhite populations. The decline in bobwhites has been strictly because of landscape habitat changes, and hunting actually generates funds to help support conservation efforts that keep quail and other wildlife healthy out on the land.
This morning, Dr. Alan Maxwell has invited some friends out for an exciting morning of hunting on his South Georgia farm.
Today I brought from Millersville real good friends of mine, Jimmy Adams and his son Justin and Jordan Adams. This is Jordan's first quail hunt ever.
There you go.
There we go.
I got started in quail hunting when I was probably around 13 years old. I just developed a love for the being outside and the hunting, and especially watching the dogs work.
Very close, Buck.
Oh, it was great weather today, but terrain's pretty rough. You just got to plow through everything.
I've been hunting for about 3 years, and this is my first time quail hunting.
There you go. All right, get him, get him. Good shot. All right.
Woo! It's fun.
I think quail hunting's an excellent way to get people, to get them tied into the environment. There's a lot of benefits for appreciating the outdoors.
This land is great quail habitat. It's been specially managed under a program called the Bobwhite Quail Initiative.
Habitat for bobwhites and many other species has declined just because of the changes in the way that we manage land. At one time, associated with farming and forestry practices, we had a sea of broom sedge and briars and weeds that provide the bugs and the seeds and the other types of food and cover that bobwhites need. But as landscapes have changed and we've lost farming in some areas, in other areas it's much cleaner farming, so it doesn't produce those weeds, briars, and bugs. We've seen declines in those species. The Bobwhite Quail Initiative promotes the establishment of field borders and hedgerows and fallow field corners around crop fields to promote the good ground cover that bobwhites and many other wildlife species need to thrive.
Quail use different habitats throughout different times of the year, but primarily what we're focusing on is early successional habitat, weeds and native grasses, native warm season grasses.
What we try to encourage is the ragweed and other weeds too, partridge peas, but particularly ragweeds. And when the quail hatch early June, the middle of June, they ought to have an overstory over the head and have insects falling off the weeds.
Georgia has a rich tradition of quail hunting. It's part of our wildlife heritage and cultural legacy. And as the quail populations have declined in the state, that cultural heritage has declined as well. We've seen hunter numbers decrease, and it's just an important part of the heritage of the South to get out on the back 40 and go quail hunting. It's a great form of outdoor recreation, and we hate to see that lost.
Little quail. It's good eating.
Quail hunting season continues through the dead of winter. This is the time of year when most of us prefer to remain indoors. Though Georgia doesn't receive the amount of winter weather seen in the northern states, we do occasionally get a taste of what winter is like for our northern neighbors, especially in the North Georgia mountains. Life in the natural world also slows down in the winter as plants and animals protect themselves from harsh freezing temperatures. One species you might spot in the winter is the vulture. Many of these members of the stork family migrate from the north to winter in South Georgia. A large congregation collects at Reed-Bingham State Park, and this phenomenon has inspired a celebration at the park, Buzzard Day.
Buzzard Day is a festival that we have every January, and it focuses on two of the vulture species that live here throughout the year, but during the winter months, from November to February, the population here will quadruple really into the thousands. Best time to see them is early in the morning or late in the afternoon.
Everybody calls them buzzards. Well, in truth, buzzards are a group of hawks from Europe, but people still call them buzzards. You can't change the folklore here. Starting out this morning, we had a canoe ride at 9 a.m. They got to see all the vultures and see some of the nature up the river. We have a 10K run and a 5K walk where people get to go from one side of the park and run all the way to the other, where they get to go through the nature trails and run back.
They migrate in the fall, November, December.
We have a pontoon boat that runs all throughout the day that goes upriver to where the vultures roost upriver.
The vultures have been coming here for as long as anyone can remember. We have several local residents that are in their 90s or over 100, and they've always been here. So it's just generation after generation returning.
The vultures at Reed Bingham begin heading north in early April, one sign that the seasonal cycle has come full circle. The ice melts, the flowers bloom, and life begins again in Georgia. From the north to the south, Georgia's diverse climate and landscape offers an array of opportunities to get out and enjoy yourself and experience the wonders of nature throughout the year.
Funding for Georgia Outdoors has been made possible by a grant from Mary Hall Singleton and by the Imlay Foundation.